My name is Austin Hirschberg, and I would like to take this time to share some of my experiences that I've had throughout the duration of this program at Fort Hays State, and also highlight some of the components of my ePortfolio. I would like to begin with my goals section. I'm originally from Heston, Kansas. I currently live in Lawrence, Kansas with my wife, who is also in education as a special education teacher here in Lawrence. We've been married for 6 years. We have a son who is now 3 and have 2 dogs, Gunner and Breezy. When I wrote this goals section, I was in the 4th year of my teaching career. I'm now in the 6th year of my teaching career, and I teach K through 5 physical education in Basehor Linwood, and I'm shared between 2 elementary schools, Linwood Elementary and Glenwood Ridge Elementary. Looking at my professional and personal goals, I'd like to highlight the ones that I've accomplished to this point. Goal number 1 on my professional goals, I'm now coaching 7th grade football as an assistant coach, and I'm also an assistant baseball coach at the high school. Goal number 2, I hope to accomplish in the next 2 months or so, obtaining my master's degree in education administration from Fort Hays State University. Again, something that I hope to accomplish. And then personal goal number 2, moving into a larger home. We actually accomplished this goal in summer 2020 and plan to be in our new house for the foreseeable future and raise our family here. Moving on to my leadership philosophy. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. This is something that I completed at the beginning of my program, and one of the things that stood out as I look back on this is also something that I felt a leader should possess as I wrote my reflective summary recently, and that's positivity and building relationships. Those are 2 things that a true leader needs to do on a day in and day out basis. Through positive influence and impact that it leaves on the followers, true leadership inspires others and empowers them to succeed. I believe an impactful leader is visible, builds healthy relationships, and leaves their fingerprint in every aspect of the building. As a leader, I expect to remain steadfast and anchored in positivity, even through the negative situations, which we know we deal with in education. We've got to remain positive. Moving on to my resume. As I mentioned, I'm a K through 5 physical education teacher in Basehor. Prior to this position, I was an adapted physical education teacher in Auburn Washburn in Topeka, Kansas. That was a great experience, and I learned a lot about the different SPED laws and the processes that they go through. Got to work with students of special needs on an everyday basis, and that really helped prepare me for my current position in general education, and also really helps prepare me for life as a future administrator. Prior to that position, I was in my first job right out of college as a certified physical education teacher aide at Baldwin Junior High in Baldwin City, Kansas. From there, I was able to move into that adapted PE role. I also highlight my coaching experiences, my current coaching experiences, and also coaching basketball in both Washburn Rural and Baldwin. Moving to the annotated bibliography, this was not necessarily the most challenging part of the program, but it was certainly one of the most time-consuming. I'm thankful that I had a lot of time, spring 2020 and summer 2020, to knock this out. I was certainly able to learn a lot about life as an administrator, and this is a great resource for me to use in the future as I take on new challenges, and as different things come my way, I can look back at this. Everything from mission and vision statements to equity for school leaders, responsibility for inclusiveness, cultural responsiveness, how to be an instructional leader within your school, and how to involve and build relationships within the community. Again, this will be a great resource as I step into an administrative position. Moving on to the areas that I really want to highlight in this video are my activities. I want to begin with my district activities. I participate on the district wellness committee. We've previously met and collaborated as a committee to restructure our policy and become more healthy as a district, both for students and staff. Another activity that stands out, I got to participate in a district administrators meeting. This is a meeting that every administrator in the district participates in every other week. I'm thankful that they allowed me to sit in and hear the different perspectives and point of views from district administrators, building administrators, and assistant principals. This really helped me realize that we need to be constantly thinking forward in an administrative role. Another activity that I want to highlight is the Education Week webinar. This is an activity that I participated in summer 2019. This focused on how to utilize technology in the classroom and find ways to promote differentiated instruction in the classroom. I also got the opportunity to network and participate in different discussion groups with other administrators and ed tech leaders. I also participated on a building design committee. Our our district is currently in the process of building two new elementary schools, one that will replace one of our current elementary schools. As a committee, we got to collaborate, and I specifically got to communicate different needs that we're going to have from a teaching point of view. Also thinking of it from an administrative role and ensuring that this new building will be sustainable for the future. Understanding my community, this was a fun activity for me, being that I don't live in the community that I teach in and that I serve. So this was a great learning experience for me to learn about Basers history and where they're at from a demographics point of view. My superintendent interview, this is something that I completed in EDL 852 at the beginning of this program. It really helped set the stage for a lot of the activities that I would take on as I move forward in the program, and also help me establish a great relationship with my current superintendent. Preventing special education teacher liability. This was an infographic that I created through Canva. It was a great experience to stand up and talk in front of other staff members, something that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with at the time, and I've become more comfortable with over time as I've done that more and more. It was also a great opportunity to communicate some of those different liability parts and answer the questions of staff members. The last district activity that I'd like to highlight is my PSA, public service announcement. This was another fun activity. I got to put a lot of creativity into this, and also found an effective way to communicate to parents their rights from a special education standpoint, and learned a lot through this experience. Moving on to elementary, this is where the majority of my activities will be. Being in an elementary position, this is where I spent a good deal of my activity time. The first that I want to highlight is my KESA conversation with my principal. This was an experience where I got to learn what they went through as a district at the beginning of the KESA process, and what they identified as building and district goals, those being responsive culture and relationships. Another activity I would like to highlight is the continuous improvement. This is another activity that I completed as an assignment in one of my courses. I got to look at some of the data that we have as a school and identify areas of weakness that we can improve on as a school. One of the areas that I believe that we need to address is increasing MTSS supports for level 1 and level 2 students in reading and math. Another activity that stands out is the map data review that we did as a BLT team in January 2020. We looked at our MAP data, which is a district assessment that tests reading and math skills. As a team, we got to look at it from an individual point of view on our own, and then collaborate with one another and pinpoint the things that we saw in areas that we think that we can improve on as a school. My principal does a really good job of not only allowing all voices to be heard in these kinds of meetings, but also utilizing the input that we have. I also participated in a SPED team meeting as an administrative rep. This was a great opportunity for me to hear what goes on a day-to-day basis from a SPED point of view, and how they're progressing as a department. This activity also helped me realize how beneficial my experience was as an adapted PE teacher. Another activity I'd like to highlight is collaborating, communicating, and engaging online with EdTech. This was a training that I went through by Greenbush, and it identified different technologies that we can use to help bridge the gap between in-person learning and remote learning, as we've all dealt with over the span of this COVID-19 crisis. COVID-19 procedures as a BLT team, beginning of August, right before we came back, we met as a team to find ways and unique needs that we were going to have as a school to help mitigate the spread of the virus, and what we could do on a day-to-day operation aspect as far as dealing with COVID-19. Discipline procedures. This is another really beneficial activity that I completed in one of my courses, and it'll help me ensure that the decisions that I make from as an administrator adhere to the laws. The master schedule, I got to collaborate and work directly with my principal to come up with a schedule. The schedule that we came up with is an A through D rotating schedule that will allow for an equal amount of time for students to spend between each specials course. Our school is welcoming a new principal next school year, and this is something that will be utilized by him day in and day out. A big part of my activities was facility rental. This is an activity that my principal delegated to me, one of her duties as an administrator. Something that a lot of administrators deal with is facility rentals. I got through this experience, I got to be in charge of the Google Calendar and scheduling different community members, communicating with them, and also ensuring that they adhere to the guidelines that we had put forth. I also participated in several different interviews throughout the course of this program. I got to interview interventionists, gen ed position, a 5th grade teacher, and also a special education teacher. Keisha COVID guidelines. One of our community members that rents out one of our facilities is a homeschool affiliate. So I got to communicate to them the COVID guidelines that Keisha had put forth, ensuring that they adhere to these and help protect our students and staff as they come into the building. Moving on to my secondary activities. The first one that I would like to highlight from a secondary point of view is the data protocol. This is something that I created in AEP 858 and can be utilized across all levels of education. And it promotes school improvement through the process of analyzing data and making adjustments to instructions and strategies. Another activity that I really enjoyed doing was athletic supervision. I got to do this at both the high school and the middle school. This was a great opportunity for me to represent the district and ensure that fans and students are adhering to sportsmanship guidelines. I also got to learn a lot from the administrators that I shadowed during this about how to handle funds for these kinds of activities and student activity funds. Another highlight from the secondary activities is collaborative school culture. For this activity, I got to create a presentation. This presentation focuses on the benefits of collaboration, goals and strategies around collaboration time, and how teachers can become more involved in the collaboration process. The last secondary activity that I'd like to highlight is interest-based bargaining. I got to participate on the IBB team for our district. In this, we got to assess the negotiated agreement and district budget and gauge the needs of other teachers in the district and advocate for those to the district leadership team. We also gauged their concerns and likes through different climate surveys. Below, I have my administrative verifications. And lastly, I would like to end with my reflection. I touched on this a little bit ago on my leadership philosophy because some things have remained the same, those being positivity and relationships. Admittedly, at the beginning of this program, I was nervous. It's something that I had put off and continued to find excuses to put off. At the beginning of this program, we had a toddler. We were going to begin grad school. My wife is completing hers in special education, also at Fort Hays State. I certainly had my doubts as I began the program. As I've found throughout this program, though, that hard work and perseverance can help me both in things like this and as I progress in my career in administration. I'm going to have challenges. It's important to persevere through everything and to remain positive along the way. Throughout this experience, I also took on different leadership roles in BLT and IBB and on different committees and have grown tremendously as a leader. Thank you for watching my highlight video. I look forward to hearing from you soon.